This is Brett Humphrey with Brett Humphrey Audio. I want to take a little time today just to talk through the cool stuff on PianoBook and this little device I picked up recently called the Beat Squeezer. I want to kind of see these two things work together, so I went to the PianoBook, I picked up the Sneaky Piano, I downloaded this little patch set, and I brought it into Ableton. What I did here in Ableton was to create 3 tracks for the Beat Squeezer. One is the normal volume, one is the loud volume, and one is the quiet volume. When you look at the MIDI tracks I created, I started at C0 and worked my way up. I purposely left space so that I could hear the attack and not have the decay run into the attack of the next note. I then load up the Sneaky Piano. And then it took a little time and I kind of just played through. I set the first track to a fixed kind of around 127 velocity. On the second track I set a little lower, listening through and deciding what I wanted. And then I kind of repeated this process with the third track again. When I went to export, I then set it to mono and to normalize the overall track. From there I just did the export, and you'll end up with these 3 files like this when you're done. So after the export, I always kind of drag and drop things into Audacity because it loads things quickly. Looks like the files are good, so I'm just going to close it out and go from there and open up ProTools. In ProTools, I have 3 mono tracks created. I just drop the 3 files in, and after a bit it loads. I'm going to zoom out a bit so you can see all of the track. And then I'm just going to select one track. I'm going to use the strip silence. And here I'm just adjusting the parameters so they get all of the sample. In this case, there's extra at the end of these with the sound of the pedal boards pulling up and such. And I want that for each note. So I just kind of go through and look at all of them and make sure everything makes sense. And once it looks good, I'm going to go ahead and strip silence. Here now when I start naming things, I'm going to put 1. I start with 1 because that's the lowest C0 note, and that will help on import into the Beat Squeezer. And then the suffix is where I'm going to put the file name. Once done, I'm just going to hit OK. And we're going to go ahead and check the files. Going to go to the beginning and say, do I really have 1? Sure do. Then we're going to go ahead and repeat this for the next track. I'm just going to go through and check and make sure that everything lines up note for note. And then strip the silence and name it. In the second name, I'm going to add the F to it because this is our very loud part. I'm going to go back through, everything still lines up, pick the third track, and we'll do it again. And once I check through the third track, I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to add the _P. Note, you'll want both the F and the P to be lowercase, otherwise the import tool doesn't quite do the right thing. You notice now that there's some extra notes at the end of this. For whatever reason, all of the extra notes don't necessarily play, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom out, trim those off, and just take what it has. Now that everything's trimmed up, I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-K and export all of the files individually. Make sure you have the right file location, otherwise you're scattering a lot of files and who knows where. Alright, now that they're all exported, I'm going to go in and select all of them. Notice I'm going to grab the very first one, otherwise things don't come quite in order. I want them in order because 1 is C0. So as you notice here, 1 is C0. As you scroll down a bit further, the numbers just match as we go along. I'm going to go ahead and save this pack, and we'll just call it the Sneaky Piano, and save it. And once saved, we're going to copy it to an SD card, bring it into the Beat Squeezer, and go ahead and just load it. Once loading, it takes a little while. They're rather large files. In this case, I'm going to use the Deluge as my MIDI controller. It's going to go ahead and be the host and send the clock out to the Beat Squeezer. And this is just a simple pattern I've put in place so you can hear what it sounds like. As we go through, you're going to hear the clecks and the clanks and the pedal boards. And I really like that noise in there. Let's take a listen to that for a moment. And now let's go ahead and just add a little bit of delay. The delay we're hearing is actually off the beat squeezer. I really like the sound of the delay. We'll go through a few adjustments on it. You'll notice even little clicks and how that comes back and forth. Now I'm going to add a little reverb. This is Ableton Live 10's default reverb. You could use any external reverb you want. I just want to give you a sample of how this device plus the PianoBook plus a little reverb. Sounds amazing. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this little video.